Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today, my guest is Robert Irvine. Robert has a new book out called Overcoming Impossible: Learn to Lead, Build a Team, and Catapult Your Business to Success. Robert is a chef, an entrepreneur, an author, philanthropist, and a tireless supporter of our nation's military and first responders. You've probably seen his hit show that's been on the air for 16 years on Food Network, Restaurant Impossible. Today, we are talking about leadership. We're talking about customer-centric leadership, how to embody the customer experience mindset, and what CEOs can learn from their customers about how to lead and build successful companies. Please enjoy Robert Irvine. Robert, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. It's so nice to see you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Where are you calling in from today?
So I literally have just returned from RIMPAC, a big exercise in Hawaii, literally this morning. So you're getting me right off the plane, literally. So overnight and no sleep and hard charging for the last week.
I just love that even at this point in your career, you are still just working so hard. Like even if like I follow you on Twitter, you're with troops and you're running your businesses and you're promoting your book. Like it's just awesome. Let's go back though to the beginning to little Robert. I mean, did you dream of being this celebrity TV personality entrepreneur, or like what was the vision as a kid? Did you see this?
I don't think anybody, and if anybody tells you differently, then they're lying. Okay. Nobody can foresee what happens in the future. When I joined the Navy at 15 and a half years old, little did I know that Robert Irvine cooking on a warship, taking care of 240 men, 30 years later would have 7,500 employees, 13 companies doing billions of dollars. I would have laughed at you. So no, the answer is definitely not.
But it sounds like even as a little kid, from what I understand, you already were developing the leadership characteristics within yourself. I mean, at a young age, were you already like working hard and pushing yourself?
Well, I think at 11 years old, I joined a home economics class because there was 30 girls and me, and I thought, there might be an opportunity as I played sports to get a girlfriend. I made a quiche Lorraine, and I was just fascinated, and I still am fascinated. That's never left me about how food can change the mood of people and influence movement and change and thought process and all those kind of things. So I presume at 11 years old, I was a sea cadet. So I was in charge of people at a very young age. So I think being a sea cadet, playing sports, doing home economics led to me. My father was in the military. My brother was in the army, both army guys. I loved the ocean. I was not a good kid at school. Um, my mother would dress me for school and wave goodbye, and I would go back and drink beer with my friends until one day she caught me. I picked the phone up, and it was the demise of Robert Irvine. So I think in some ways school was boring to me. It wasn't challenging, and the military became that challenge, I would say.
Yeah. And I often think about the military when we look at some of the most high performing customer centric companies like Amazon,
Mhm.
and you definitely see the military mindset. This podcast is all about customer experience. It's about providing the best customer service. You have basically translated these principles in your TV show, in your book, Overcoming Impossible. What is it that creates a truly customer centric culture?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, and it's really important because nobody gets it, not even Amazon, right? They're almost there, but they're not quite there. And if Jeff Bezos listens to this, I'll tell him how to fix that. We are in a must have immediate mood because that's the way our society is today. It never used to be that way. Good customer service means one thing: listening. We don't take enough time to listen. I have CPG companies, major in the billions, I'm talking. So if somebody writes to me on social media and says, "Oh, by the way, I got your," I'll use a bar an example, "it was melted," before that person has put their smartphone down, I've already got a box of goodies on the way to, even though it's not my fault, even if it
Mm-hmm.
was Amazon's fault.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, and you can check out my social media and you'll see what we do. If it's not my fault, I will fix it because it's my name.
Yeah.
And I think what we don't do as customer service agents is we don't listen. We tend to, like, we hear, but we really don't hear anything. Then we pass them on to somebody else. And there's nothing more frustrating than, and I've been in a call center taking calls. There's nothing more important or infuriating than saying, "Oh, yes, let me just send you to the right person," after the person has explained 20 minutes to you what the issues are. You should be able to be empowered to fix that issue immediately. Otherwise, what is the point of a call center? What is the point of a service agent? If you're not empowering your people to fix things, then you're not a good company. Sorry, you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. And I can just remember watching your show so many times and you basically trying to get these restaurateurs, these mom and pop restaurants to work harder and to care. And it feels like in a lot of what you say and you write, and for many, many years, you try to get people to care and to rise to the occasion, to rise to that leadership opportunity. What are some of the principles that you tell them? Like, what do you think a great leader does every single day?
It's really simple. There's only four things they need to do every day. The first one is called empathetic leadership. Know that Blake has an autistic son. She's having a hard day today because her son's playing up. That Robert has um, a mother that is 82 years old that fell down the stairs, and I'm dealing with that. When I come to work, my leader should know exactly what's going on in my life. Why do I say that? Because unless you understand the individual and what motivates them. So what motivates Blake may be vacations. What motivates Robert may be money. What motivates is days off. What motivates um, is different in each and every one of us. And empathetic leadership, we understand what makes the other person tick. And how do you do that? You sit down and have a cup of coffee with them and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Because if you listen carefully, and I got to tell you a story in a second, but if you listen carefully, they will give the answers to the questions you're answering or you're wondering. And
Yeah.
10 years, my show's been on almost 16 years. We've helped 28,000 restaurants. All right. 93 of those percent of those are still surviving
Mhm.
after COVID, obviously. Um, I used to go in like a bull in a china shop. This is, tell me why you're failing. Look at your P&L, look at your asset list, look at the restaurants around you. And then this is what I'm going to do, without even listening to the person's original vision, why they got into the business, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't care. I was not, look, I've got 48 hours of real time. I've met you. I need to fix that. 10 years in, well, actually half of that, 5 years in, I started to realize, whilst they were loving the restaurant and loving the food and loving it, I didn't give them enough attention to really make them successful. Even though I spent 48 hours straight,
Yeah.
48 hours of no sleep, sometimes aggravated because they couldn't get it, sometimes upset because they weren't interested in it. And some of them just wanted me to fix it and sell it. And then I started to say, well, you know what? Change your tactics. Stop being a bull in the china shop and just listen for a minute. And it's amazing that the change, and you can actually see it on the TV shows. You will see the earlier Restaurant Impossibles and the later ones. They're like
Mhm.
night and day because
Yeah.
I figured out if I listen, they would not only buy into it, I would also incorporate some of their ideas into my plan of action. And that was hard for me. I'm used to military. You get a mission, there's the end goal in mind, and I would work backwards, which I still do to this day, to figure it out. Um, and I think the empathetic leadership is understanding who you're working with, their levels of expertise or not. Then comes trust. Then comes egos, yours and mine. And then
Mhm.
comes authenticity. It's no good having a workforce and being, hey, Miss Blake, how are you today? And then the next day, totally snubbing you and being ignorant towards you, which I see daily, by the way. I have to be the same day one as day 365 later on in that year,
Yeah.
because then you know who I am. You learn to trust who I am and that I have your best interest at heart.
Robert, I know you mentioned there were 4 leadership principles, but I do wanna cut in and tell you about your book, and our audience might not have read the book yet, but there is a story about when you were going to give a keynote speech, and you sent one of your employees to do some due diligence and kind of prep everything for you. You did the speech, and afterward, you found out some, disappointing news about how your employee had behaved. I mean, why is it so important for leaders? I mean, maybe you can tell the story, but why also is important for leaders to really be like flipping burgers next to employees, literally, like so they understand what's happening because there's so many dynamics going on.
There are 1,000 stories I can tell you.
Yeah.
One thing is I'll give you a story that's not in the book, but I used to work at Trump Taj Mahal, Atlantic City, Trump's very famous seventh wonder of the world.
Mm-hmm.
For 4 months, I was undercover. In other words, I would go in at 6 at night and I'd work till 6 in the morning. Nobody who I was. I was just wearing a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. I would sit in toilets. Sounds kind of creepy, but listen, right? Because
Wow.
there was drug deals going on. There was stealing going on.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, there was a whole bunch of things. Then 4 months after, I came out and I put a chef's jacket and a uniform on. Now everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's that guy." I cooked every Saturday morning. Didn't have to. I cooked every Saturday morning on a line in a coffee shop, cooking 5,000 sets of eggs every Saturday. Why did I do that? I never wanted somebody to say to me, well, you can't do that. I also fired a sushi chef for 15 years because he had bleach underneath his counter in a refrigerator with his fish. And my boss at that time was a VP of food and beverage. He said, you can't fire him because I like your sushi. And I said to my boss, I don't care what you like. I care about safety. I fired him. I did the sushi that night. I made $850 in tips, which I give away, by the way,
That's very good.
and proved to the guy that nobody is above the law.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that you work alongside to understand the processes of whatever your job is, or their job is, or your business is. You
Yeah.
know, I can carpenter, I can cook, I can clean, I can paint, I can put wallpaper up, I can, because I can't ask you to do it unless I can do it myself.
Yeah. I think what happens is you get to a level of rank and like it's just exhausting. Like people just don't want to do it. That's why most customer experiences are not perfect, in my opinion, because leaders get to a point where they're like, I want to relax. I want to play golf. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. But it seems like it's that passion for curiosity and it's exciting to be engaged and to solve problems. And that's what life is about.
Well, for me, I get up every day to make a difference, right? And that's in my employee's life, that's in my customer's life, that's in a military, whatever it is. I get up to make a difference, and if I there's one thing that I have omitted there is a good leader hires people smarter than himself or herself. Why, when you surround yourself with good people and allow them to speak, they may have a different idea of your company or a different idea of the direction or the product. And unless they are heard, why do you have them? right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, we have a small but mighty senior leadership team of 12 people, 60 middle managers, and then the team. But I allow twice a year, I allow when we get together a think tank. I do not know everything. I wish I was the best chef in the world. I've got three chefs that are way better than me, and I'm just fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I have that they don't is a vision. I know what is next. I know where the brands are going. I know what I perceive as the future. Then I bring it to the team. We mull it over. What's the best way or product to go to start with or go around? So I think it's really important that that teamwork is um, cohesive and inclusive. Not just inclusive like, oh, let's bring in all these different folks. Inclusive in you have a say in your future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Robert. Okay.
go ahead.
Well, go on, finish the thought, and then I'll go to the
Well,
next.
because at the end of the day, you leave a job to come and work with somebody else based on the opportunity of making more money or being promoted in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's why we
Growth.
that's why we leave jobs.
Yeah. Everybody wants growth. You know, your schedule is really, really busy because you are a brand yourself. And then you carry these brands. Something that people often ask me is what percent of my day and my schedule as a leader or my month should be spent on customer work? Like, can you put a percentage on
Well,
it?
I will give you this, and I will fight and argue with every one of them that argues with this.
Okay.
I work with the top Fortune 500 CEOs in this world and across the water. And everybody says to me, so, what is work life balance? If you are a type A personality, there is no such thing as work life balance because you are constantly trying to make it better for your employees and for your consumers. You're, I look today, that's all I've done from 6 o'clock this morning on the plane till I landed and still doing it until 5 minutes or 3 minutes before I got on with you. There's always a better way to do things. There's always a better way to approach a consumer. You know, I've just been at a very top end, just before I was in Hawaii, cyber conference, intelligence and not only military intelligence, but cyber in general, the cyber
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And they said, well, what's a cook doing on the cyberspace panel, right? And I said, well, you all think I'm a cook, but what you forget is the supply chain. The quickest way to hurt people in this world, and we've seen it through COVID, is to put something to water, into the air, or into the food.
Yeah.
So cybersecurity and AI security in the food space is huge.
Wow.
Nobody's talking about it. But yet we all go and eat. So think about this. If I put 6,000, well, 5 or 6,000 people on an aircraft carrier and I feed them and 1% of those get sick, that aircraft carrier is inoperable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a very, very different way than most people think. To me, the customer service is every minute of every day, no matter whether it's the military, whether it's our Fit Crunch bar, our distillery, whatever, or clothing. What are we doing to make it better? And how are we reaching and talking to the consumer? Because the consumer is going to tell me what they need and how they need it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about yourself and what I call customer experience mindset, which I believe is what you're describing. There must be days where you just don't feel like it, where you want a good night's sleep. You don't want to get up at 6 a.m., or maybe you didn't sleep at all. You don't feel like sitting in the bathroom at the Taj Mahal while you're mystery shopping. What do you do to get yourself into the customer experience mindset, the mood for service when you don't feel like it?
Number one, I never have them days. Never. I'm always in a customer service mood simply because I use the gym every day
Yeah.
where I'm the customer now, right? I go to restaurants every day, 3 times a day. I'm the customer. So I'm getting the experience that I'm supposed to give. I go and buy shirts. I go and buy clothes. I sit in an Uber. I sit in a car. I sit wherever I go to a doctor. I'm always in that mood because if I'm met by somebody who is rude, somebody who is not doing their job, somebody that again, nothing to do with me, I'm the customer, but I look at it as if that was my employee.
Mm-hmm.
I write notes. If it's bad, I will email the CEO of that company, or I will email the manager, or I will talk to the manager. Because to me, when I'm paying my hard earned money for something that you were giving to me, service, right? No matter whether you're a doctor, whether a fuel attendant, it doesn't matter. If I'm paying my hard earned money and deciding to go to your place of work or your product, I want the best experience. So I live that every day. My wife that goes for dinner with me occasionally, because she's always on the road again, um, she has opinions the same as I do. I don't always agree with them, um, but I have an expectation, and that's something that we all have. And I give you an idea. If you go to a restaurant and you read a menu and it says filet mignon, 8-ounce filet mignon with haricot vert, pomme puree, and a red wine reduction, automatically you build a picture in your mind of that plate, whether you like it or not. You've already seen it.
Right.
When it comes completely different to what you expected it, your expectations have already been ruined.
Right.
So when we tell somebody something, and I do it in my restaurants, I'm very undescriptive. I'll give you the ingredients, but I don't tell you how it comes and what's with it. It's very simple and very plain. And there's a reason, because science says we do exactly that. When we look at a picture that's on the front of any packaging, clothing or food or whatever, and we open it, it doesn't look like that, we're already upset because somebody took a picture that's perfect, that's pinned, that's nailed, that's screwed, that's glued, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look like it when I'm wearing it or you're wearing it or you're going to eat it. So we have to be very, very careful as operators of restaurants or clothing stores or whatever, that what we are selling is actually what we're supposed to sell.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is really just walking a mile in the customer's shoes at all times. Do you tell your Fortune 500 leader clients that they need to be walking a mile in the customer's shoes every day?
I don't tell them, I make them.
How
I do.
do you do that?
I was sitting on an aircraft with, I won't say the name of the person or the company, going through the experience of going to a counter, checking in using a front office person, and when the flight's delayed, how does that person deal with you? I made them do it,
Mhm.
and it's kind of exciting. Why? Because when they don't know who you are, it's like an undercover boss, right? When they
Yes.
don't know who you are, they act completely different than when you're the boss.
Yes.
And not everybody. I can't blanket purchase that, right? I can't say that for everybody. But I would say 86% of people act differently when they don't know you. I go into
Yeah.
a restaurant, everybody fusses over me.
Yes.
My wife, who nobody knows unless you're a wrestler, has a completely different experience than me.
Yeah.
Why
Does
is
that
that?
bother you?
It does very much, very much, because I feel that we get treated differently just because you're on TV, you're on a magazine, you're on whatever. You get treated very differently than the normal average Joe.
Yeah, people don't
So as
talk
I
about
say
that
is,
very much.
I want exactly what you do exactly how you do it, and let me experience it.
Yeah. It's the thing you didn't know when you were a little boy that one day, like, you would be a known person and that would
Mhm.
be your reality, which is
Yeah,
different.
no, we're in 170 countries with 1 billion viewers a week. So if I go to Honduras, I'm known. If I go to Brazil, I'm known. I mean, you can follow my social media. It's kind of interesting the demographic from a 3-year-old to a 93-year-old. I was
Yeah.
just in Normandy with 160 World War II veterans from 197 years old to 107. I'd
Wow.
never met any of them in my life, but everybody knew me,
That's
right?
awesome.
So, by the way, such an honor, a humbling honor, by the way. But um, so yeah, be careful what you wish for, because when you get it, it's a different life.
Yeah, you have to be able to handle that, which is a whole other thing. And I guess there's something to being anonymous, like undercover boss. But I think it's great that you're using your celebrity for so much good, helping the military, just healing the world, which there's no shortage of work to be done.
Yes, for sure.
Let's get to know you a little bit better on a personal level. You game for some rapid fire?
Yeah, go for it.
What's the most important part of your morning routine?
Workout,
What do you do to relax at the end of a hectic day?
workout.
What show are you currently streaming?
I just watched Black Sails on Netflix.
What is your favorite leadership book or resource?
Oh, I don't have a favorite one. I've got 1,000 um, books that I'm reading right now. I don't read like normal people. I read snippets from each book. I'm reading one about a World War II B-24 pilot right now, just because I came back from Normandy and I'm fascinated by it. But I have a lot of leadership books, and they're all unique. They're all unique.
Awesome. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
What I'm doing now.
What is one mental health strategy for managing hard days?
You're gonna hate this, Jim.
I love it because I'm a gym rat too.
Well, because I have a rule in my companies between the hours of in the morning when I'm working out and the afternoon or evening I'm working out. Um, I have no calls,
Yeah, it's great.
zero. So it's my time to decompress. Um, if my wife's home, we watch a movie together. That's decompressing to me. But again, there is no phone calls unless it's really emergency. And when I say that, unless it's the President of the United States office or the Secretary of Defense calling, it doesn't get answered.
Mhm. Yeah. Perfect.
There has
What
to be a separation.
Yeah, that's probably how you've stayed so healthy. All that fitness, so good for your brain and for your soul. What is your favorite type of vacation?
I'm not a guy that sits on beach. I like adventure, so I like to go to places that I can visit. Egypt is a great place to look at the pyramids and Tutankhamun, and I'm very um, interested in history.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
I tend to. We don't go to beaches and sit on beaches all day. I need to be active.
Got it. If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Desmond Tutu,
Cool. If you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would that be?
live life.
Amazing. And if people want to learn more about you, your products, your books, your shows, where can they do that?
They can look at our foundation, which is really important to me and why I get up every day. It's robertirvinefoundation.org. You can follow us on Twitter, which is at Robert Irvine, Facebook at Chef Irvine. Um, and then there are a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't even tell you where, but
It's just
put in the
Google.
name somewhere, you'll find it.
All right. Well, this has been so interesting, so fun. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, you'll come back next time and talk to us more.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Blake.
Everybody, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on social media, including Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and more.